box that is marked Samsung SM. Can you just unmute for me?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you hear okay? You're Mr. Cannon, aren't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I thought so. I just wanted to check your audio on there, sir. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Judge, we don't have Miss Gillette yet.
Okay.
To take care of the Perez bill first, real quick.
Okay, so she says his name, Perez Beal, and then they all mysteriously disappear except for this bail bonds guy who gets a bunch of free advertising in, and then they reappear a little bit later. I'm going to fast forward, but this is the actual amount of time.
I'm sorry, sir, you're still muted.
It's Steve Conway.
Regular spelling Conway.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Rhonda, I'm going to go on the Zoom record, so you don't need to be taking this.
Go on a Zoom record? So the actual custodian of records or the records, whatever, is getting called off so he can go on a Zoom record? That doesn't make any sense. I've never even heard of that. Is there a Zoom record? And if there is, how come there's no record of it except for this recording?
This is a matter that is off docket, and
Oh, that makes more sense. It's off docket, but on Zoom record. Okay. I'll put a check into I've never heard of that before box.
is a half a dozen cases. State of Kansas versus Antonio Perez Beal. Case numbers are 23 CR 157, 24 CR 56, 24 CR 57, 24 CR 96, 24 CR 28. And from my understanding from yesterday, there is a new that has or will be filed by the state against Mr. Antonio Perez. Yesterday, at arraignment on 5 cases just enumerated by the court entered a $75,000 cash or surety bond. $75,000 cash or surety bond. Now, it is the intent of the court to include the new, what I understand to be the 6th case under that $75,000 cash or surety bond. Now, Mr. Antonio Perez Beal will need to appear for first appearance whenever that may be set. But the court does include the new case under the total of $75,000 cash or surety bond. Any questions on that?
Nothing from the defense, Your Honor. Ms. Gillette, what is the case number on that?
That case is assigned to Judge Webster. It's not assigned to Judge Hart. And unless Judge Webster has it reassigned over to Judge Hart, she put a no bond on it until Tuesday when she saw him in person. So that case was not included in the originals that were sent over because it was filed yesterday.
One that she filed yesterday, that Jill Gillette filed yesterday.
And I spoke with Judge Webster and she said, no.
Isn't that an admission of an ex parte communication right there when she said I spoke with Judge Webster? I don't know. Seriously, it's a question. It just seems like it is.
It's a misdemeanor. She was retaining it because it was going to end up having to go to trial since he's requested a trial on the felonies. And we need to know if the misdemeanors that were sent over are going to be sent back for misdemeanor trial with Judge Webster, or if they're going to continue to stay on Judge Hart's docket for him to deal with for jury trial. But the new case is Judge Webster's case, and she intended for the bond to remain as a no bond, as it's her case. if that case is being reassigned to Judge Hart, then the bond would change. But she set the bond on the warrant for her case that was just filed.
Seems to make sense for judicial economy to have this all together, because you and I, Ms. Gillette, have already talked about some sort of a global workout to get all this stuff resolved. That's our intent.
Right,
and
but that case was filed yesterday, and it hasn't been included in any plea negotiations.
I understand that.
Are they actual negotiations without the defendant present or at least knowing of the talks, right?
Judge, what do you want us to do?
I think the judges need to talk to each other and decide.
So she's suggesting more ex parte communication just between the judges themselves and not including her. Whatever.
Whose case it's going to be.
Mr. Rapp.
Yes, sir.
In regards to your client, I have no power. I have no jurisdiction. Chief Judge Rickey is the only one in regards.
Wait a minute. Whenever he's asked to recuse himself from a case because of obvious bias, he has all the power to shut that down and remain on the case. But when it comes to this, he has no power whatsoever.
To the case that Ms. Gillette is referring to. It is the court's understanding that Ms. Gillette and Ms. Webster have consulted in regards to the new.
Well, you know the old saying, one man's consultation is another man's ex parte communication. Oh, wait, that's not a saying. But it seems like that's what he believes.
Case. Judge Webster has been assigned the new case.
And how did this case filed by Miss Jill Gillette end up on Judge Webster's docket or whatever?
Pursuant to announcement today by Miss Gillette.
Oh, because Miss Gillette said so. Okay.
The court agrees with defense counsel that it would appear to make judicial economy to have every case assigned to one judge. However, I have no authority to do that. Therefore, Mr. Rapp, you would need to make motion to Chief Judge Rickey to assign this case over to myself. Otherwise, the no bond hold in regards to the case that has been assigned to Magistrate Judge Webster remains under her bond that has been ordered, no bond hold.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but did she not just file a new case so that it could fall under Judge Webster's whatever, so that they could keep this kid in jail with a no bond hold? Is that what I just heard? Because it sounded like an ex parte communication between Judge Webster and Jill Gillette. It kind of seems like I'm jumping to conclusions with all this stuff, but the bias toward this kid, Anthony Perez-Beal, has been ridiculous since the very first day, and these two, especially Jill Gillette and Judge Webster, have threatened this kid in open court like 4 times.
I quit working on his case, so because he told me he didn't want me working on his case anymore. So I take my clients at their word, and this isn't some kind of delay tactic. We have had a definite breakdown in communication, Judge. So, if you're keeping me on for today, I know the witnesses have been subpoenaed. I hate to put the county attorney through that, but everybody's appearing by Zoom. Nobody's had to drive to the courthouse, and I would ask for a short continuance to file my motion, have it ruled on formally, and go forward at that point. And if you will not let me off of the case, then I will have adequate time to prepare, because basically I was fired Wednesday, Judge.
You were not fired. It was a mutual decision.
Well.
Okay. First of all, Mr. Perez-Bell, you are not in charge here. You probably think you are, because you've delayed this case so long and kept it from going to even the preliminary hearing.
No, ma'am.
Do not talk back to me. This has been going on, like I said, since August, and you keep coming in here hearing after hearing after hearing, telling me you're going to get an attorney, telling me you don't want a court-appointed attorney. And
you told me I did not qualify for a court-appointed attorney.
Well, you told me you made $70,000 a year.
Do you want me to lie?
Nope. But if you're making $70,000 a year, you can afford your own attorney instead of socking it to the taxpayers, don't you think?
And I hired one. And then
All right, then let's go. Why?
no, ma'am. No, ma'am. I want a change of venue. I feel like I'm faced unfair judgment. I spoke to Daniel, Miss Gillette's boyfriend, personally at the tire shop. He admitted to them two discussing my case in the privacy of their own home. I have a personal relationship with him. Miss Marianne Shirley told me Miss Gillette does not like me. And from all the cases I'm getting thrown at me afterwards, it ought to show what kind of games are being played here from the state side. Miss Simon has sent two people after me to try and get my butt whooped. One of them's name is Alan Greenwood. The other one's name is Tyler Stafford. She keeps driving by my house harassing me. I made a Facebook post the other day. She's tried logging into my Facebook, my Snapchat. She keeps liking everything on TikTok.
Once again, she admits to most of this. And now remember, her fuck buddy's name is Green, last name
She
Green.
has logged into my
Stop.
Judge, may I address some of the issues, please?
I was getting ready to ask you your opinion. Please do.
Judge, he did remodel Mr. Green's home.
Okay, check.
Mr. Green has nothing to do with my job. Mr. Beal has been in Mr. Green's shop multiple times demanding that he talk to me about his case.
Check.
I have instructed Mr. Green when we first started dating, anyone that shows up to your shop and mentions anything that has to do with...
Check and check. Everything this kid said is true so far. Everything. Confirmed by her.
My job, your response is, I have nothing to do with her job.
Hell, she even admitted that they went over responses to certain questions. I mean...
Mr. Beal has been in there multiple times. Mr. Green's been instructed that Mr. Beal, if he comes in there to tell him, I have nothing to do with her job, you'll have to call her office and deal with her office. I have said that I...
Okay, that's a really slick part that's going to make sense later, but she said, I told him not to call her... If he needs to talk to her, call her office and deal with her office. Later on, they go on to say that he is not to call her office as a part of his bond.
I do not want Mr. Beal to come by the house because I don't feel comfortable with him. Mr. Beal has made numerous posts about the Elk County Sheriff, the Greenwood County Sheriff, myself, and other people on his Facebook. I am aware of them. People screenshot them, show them to me, and make me aware of them. Mr. Beal brought his actions upon himself. I treat him the same as any other defendant. In fact, I have other defendants that have had way more cases in front of me than he has, and in front of the courts. It does not create a personal conflict of interest because I don't know Mr. Beal. I have no relationship with Mr. Beal.
Once again, it is so hard to believe the garbage that she is speaking once she's just got done spending 3 minutes explaining how there's a possible conflict of interest, and then she goes on to say there's no relationship between the two. It is retarded.
Other than the fact that he remodeled the guy I'm dating's house.
The guy I'm dating's house, which, by her own admission, is her house.
I'm embarrassed to say this, but I don't know how to play videos on a Zoom hearing, so I'll have to defer to Jill to do that for us if we're going to do it that way, just because I don't know how.
Notice the name Green behind her head? That's not her last name.
But Jill, you're muted too, Jill.
I don't have my disk drive with me here at the house. I was going to make a copy for the court to have. That way Rhonda will have it as an exhibit.
Rhonda's about to put her on notice that she can't do that anymore, and she has to put it in a digital court file like it should be.
So
when we're doing exhibits that are admitted, most of those are just going to be now filed in the file because we're doing them all electronically and there's no way for me to keep them or anything, you know.
With that being said, it has no bearing on this. And that is the only two things that he's been told is that he's not allowed here because of the stuff he's posted on Facebook. There's no social media there is from anyone here. There's no newspaper articles that would require a transfer of venue. Mr. Beal does not understand the intricacies of a change of venue motion nor its requirements. Mr. Paul does understand what a change of venue is required, and a change of venue would not be appropriate in this matter because Mr. Paul is correct. It doesn't meet the requirements of a change of venue. There's no media, there's no bias, there's no anything in the community. And if it goes to jury trial, there's not been enough media to require a change of venue. Defendants don't always know what the exact intricacies of the law are, and they hear of things such as a change of venue and think that it would apply in their case when their lawyer knows the best about the law. I was a defense attorney for years, and I had to deal with the very same issue with my own clients over and over again. And I would tell them the same thing and break down the law for them that a change of venue isn't appropriate. I don't have a personal conflict with Mr. Beal. I really don't have an opinion of him other than what I read in the affidavits that are come before me. And I base my decisions on the affidavits before me and the circumstances regarding each case and the number of cases that are before me when I make agreements, pleas, or decisions for trial. None of that has anything to do with anything personal. I don't know why he keeps saying Mary Ann said something like that, but Ms. Shirley's a very qualified attorney, and I don't know what was in their private conversation. At the point that that came up in one of his very first hearings, I hadn't even really discussed him in front of Ms. Shirley. Mr. Beal does have a case in Elk County that I did prosecute, and he does have a conviction in that case, and I am aware of that case. But having prior cases with the same defendant does not disqualify a prosecutor.
Yeah,
Daniel got brought out.
Sir, stop.
Daniel got brought out.
Sir, I told you, you do not control this hearing.
I have my freedom of speech. Daniel's name got brought out.
Sir, you do not have the right to say anything you want, anytime you want in this court. You will speak when you're asked questions and given the opportunity to speak, but you're not going to just keep interrupting and telling the court what you think. Mr. Paul, your motion to withdraw is granted. Now, what are we going to do about you and your attorney, Mr. Perez Bill? I've been using this excuse that you don't have an attorney for a year now. What are you going to do?
Judge, may I be excused?
You are excused, Mr. Paul. Again, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
You're welcome.
I am requesting a continuance so I can hire another attorney. Mr. Paul has given me a name of somebody he recommends. But on the record, Your Honor, Mr. Paul, he is the one who let me know about Daniel, about the attorney, about the county attorney, Mrs. Gillette, and Daniel, her boyfriend, speaking about me in the privacy of their own home. Mr. Paul's the one who brought that to my attention.
Well, I don't know how
Mr. Paul was told to have Mr. Beal stop going.
I mean, this may be a stretch, but that sounds like another ex parte communication. She talked to his attorney to have him relay a message about him talking to her boyfriend. I mean, come on, man. It's bias all over this biatch.
Into Mr. Green's place of business to discuss the case. Mr. Paul and I talked about that, and he was to relay to Mr. Beal to stay out of Daniel's shop and trying to get in.
I thought if the attorneys were going to talk to each other, it would be through motions and through the courts, not through personal contact.
Information about his case through Mr. Green. Mr. Green, nothing to do with the case.
Okay, everybody stop. All right. Let's get this, I'm tempted to make you go to prelim today without an attorney because you can't just keep coming in here saying, I want a continuance, and not go to the hearing.
Frankly, Judge, if he wants to continue to harass the guy I'm dating, that's intimidation of the.
I went in there one time to teach him about our case.
Stop, or I'm going to make you come to court where I can have an officer put you in custody for contempt if you keep interrupting and taking over like you're doing.
Well, that's a threat.
Now, I've let your attorney off the hook, but I want to know who you're hiring in his place.
I have his name written down on a piece of wood at work. It's an attorney from El Dorado. I was told to. Sorry, my phone messed up.
How long is this attorney going to take to get ready for preliminary hearing?
I'm not sure. I asked Mr. Paul if he'd be willing to speak to him and get him up to date on my case, and he said he would. But Mr. Paul told me, let's get through this first.
You actually posted your bond July 9th. You know that? You posted your bond July 9th of 23. You didn't have an attorney enter until January 12th of 24. And now by April.
Okay, so Miss Marianne Shirley actually was represented him in the very beginning, and that's who he's talking about now.
24, you're back to no attorney again.
I planned on hiring Mrs. Shirley, I think 2 times, and she told me she didn't want to do it.
All right.
She referred me to Mr. Paul.
She didn't want to do it because she had given both advice to him and the wife. So she didn't feel like it would be an honest, a fair either way.
Finally got through to Mr. Paul, but then there's been 3 accounts now that Mr. Paul told me, I'll call you on such and such day. I'll call you on such and such day.
Okay, that's not helping any. That's not helping me any. I want to know who you're hiring, when you're hiring them, and when I can set this for real hearing.
I don't know the name of the guy off the top of my head, but he's out of El Dorado.
Where's
and
his
I have
office
to speak.
Where's his office located?
I don't know. I told you I have his name and number written down at work.
Oh, you've never talked to him?
No. Last time I spoke to Mr. Paul, he referred me to him, and I believe that was maybe 2 days ago, and it's written down at work. I was on the job when I got his name and number. But Mr. Paul said, let's get through this first before I hire another attorney.
Get through what? The withdrawal?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so wouldn't it be weird now that Miss Gillette has heard that he had Miss Marianne Shirley defend him in the beginning and got taken off the case, and then he tried to rehire her, but she said she didn't want to do it because there'd probably be a bias. Wouldn't it be weird if that Jill Gillette called in sick one day and her replacement was Marianne Shirley on this dude's case? Would that be weird? Or like completely just fucking off the Richter retarded?
Versus Antonio Manuel Perez Bill. Please announce appearances.
May it please the court, Marianne Shirley, special prosecutor, on behalf of Ms. Gillette, today only.
Okay.
Weird, right? Isn't that crazy that Marianne Shirley would be the one replacing Jill Gillette? Now check this out. Judge Webster is obviously sick, and Jill Gillette is out completely sick. So isn't that just, I would think, more evidence of an ex parte communication? At least, I mean, if they both have communicable diseases and they're talking to each other, it stands to reason they'd both be sick at the same time.
William McClendon for the defendant, Anthony Beal, who appears via Zoom from a separate location.
Any announcements at this time, Mr. McClendon?
No, but I do have one. So I would like the court to take judicial notice of the person in the box on the top right. Judicial notice of their last name, Green.
Your Honor, I'd like to set these
right?
for a prelim. One of those cases is a misdemeanor only, and we were just kind of tagging it along because of there's so many of them. But I think either one long prelim or 3 separate prelims, but I don't want them to be ran together because they're kind of factually different. Each case is.
Some of them have different victims alleged, yes. But now, Mr. Beal, didn't you have I was thinking we had something else with you on my calendar coming up, or that we'd just.
That's a different issue. It's a divorce between him and his wife, which is being, well, they're not getting divorced anymore, but that's another issue for another later on.
That's not where I was seeing it that I recall. Missy, did you remember any other criminal cases?
No, Judge. Just these that are on the docket today.
Okay, well, that's more than enough.
No, the felony in the first case, 23 CR 157, is allegedly aggravated assault on his, I believe it's his father-in-law.
Okay.
The witnesses are the same in that, for the most part, and 24 CR 96, wherein the felony is his wife, who is also a witness in 23 CR 157.
They're supposed to be having no contact in these cases as a condition of bond, right?
Yes, Your Honor, and that was something I was also wanting to address today.
Missy, how do you want to set these? Giving him a separate prelim for each one.
I have June 28th available in the afternoon.
The whole afternoon?
I do have it available.
Starting at what time?
At 1 or 1:30, if ever we need to start it at.
Let's make it 1:15. These are all set, but we need to also be taking care of that misdemeanor because that's 4 counts of violation of a protection order. So I don't want that to get lost in the shuffle.
Right.
Okay, that's what we'll do. We'll reserve the whole day for prelims. We'll do one after the other.
Starting at 1:30?
1:15.
1:15.
1:15, okay.
And you said there was something else you wanted to address?
Your Honor, my, how do I do this without incriminating my client? Your Honor, he would like to be let off bond or have the no contact order with his wife dropped so they can pursue couples therapy. They have a counselor arranged. I had this information from his wife, who figured out who I was his attorney via the courthouse.
Actually, Your Honor, his wife did contact me also, indicating that she would like to have contact in the therapy because they have children that they have to get along for, and she insists that Mr. Beal is a good father. He has some issues, but he's a good father. He's good to their children. She wants to be able to work with him, and she believes that the counseling will assist in that.
He's got an ag assault charge pending against her, an ag assault pending against his father-in-law, 4 counts of violating a protection order against her.
The aggravated assault against her. It's against complicated situation, but it's not against her.
All right. Well, I'll just look at him in 56. Violation of protection from abuse order. Okay. And she is listed as the victim in each of these, is she not? I'm not saying that she is or that the charges are right, but let me look at that.
It just says that it's a violation of the protective order that looks like
okay.
It looks like on December 24th, he sent a text to his wife. On December 25th, he sent a text to his wife. It doesn't appear that there were any, these were texts, these were not in-person kind of threatening situations, Your Honor.
Telephone or text, but that's still a violation when you're told no contact. Now then, let's look at the other one, 57, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and reckless driving.
The victim there appears to be a Jared Everly.
Is that her father?
No, her father's Mr. Simon, I believe.
All right, there's a Jared Everly where he was allegedly put in reasonable apprehension of immediate bodily harm with the deadly weapon, to wit, a truck. And then there's a reckless driving. 96, criminal damage to property, of felony. I believe that is his wife's telephone, if I remember correctly.
That's correct,
Yes, Your Honor.
And then a domestic battery. I presume she's the victim. It's in violation of a protective order and criminal trespass. And that was in March of 24. And that brings us down to the other 157. That one dates back to...
Dude, they're making this kid sound like a monster. Dude, all that happened in the very first one was his livestock went missing and his neighbors had tampered with his gate. So he went to go look for his livestock, and that's how that first one started. The second one, he caught his chick cheating on him, and all he did was, of course he was mad, he threw her phone and drove off. That's it. And that's where they get aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, his vehicle, and all this bullshit. Dude. Oh, and then the third one was he didn't get his kids on the day that he was supposed to get his kids, and I guess he knocked on the babysitter's door and asked for his kids, and that was it. And then she got criminal trespassing on him and a protective order or whatever violation. Dude, he's got 6 pending cases for doing nothing, basically.
That's the father-in-law issue.
Aggravated assault with the deadly weapon and disorderly conduct. Oh, the deadly weapon in this case was a hammer. He allegedly took a hammer to a Joseph Simon on July 8th of 2023 and committed disorderly conduct by fighting words.
Your Honor, may I say something?
That's between
No, don't, Anthony.
No, don't talk, Mr. Bill, not right now.
So you're wanting the no contact lifted, Mr. McClendon?
Yes, Your Honor, and if I may, that 56 case where there's the 4 counts of a violation of protection order, the wife was the one who initiated contact, and they were talking about
Oh, yeah, that's right. And the no contact order, she's the one who initiated the contact, yet he's the one that's getting the charge. This is fucking ridiculous.
resolution to their marriage, which has a pending divorce, but is getting annulled. The divorce proceeding is
Who filed
dismissing. Sorry,
Who filed?
the wife did.
No. She filed for divorce first.
She filed, she dismissed, then he filed, and then they're attempting reconciliation, is my understanding.
Miss Shirley's correct.
They're attempting reconciliation and these months-long no contact orders.
They have the children have to still be exchanged. It's been happening either at the school or usually at the daycare, the babysitter.
But the babysitter got a PFA against him too, didn't she?
At one point, I don't know what the status on that is, Your Honor.
And then there was some incident about him flagging down the school bus and jerking the kids off by the arms and dragging them out.
I don't know where that come from, Your Honor, but that was...
I'm not aware of that, Your Honor.
I'm not aware of that either.
I was supposed to get my children for Easter weekend, and my wife changed her mind, and she wasn't going to give me them until a certain date. Thursday was exchange day for our children. I wasn't going to get them till later on. They're my children. That was my time with them.
So you flagged down the school bus and jerked them off of it?
I didn't pull them off there like you're trying to insinuate I did.
Oh,
I went and stopped the school bus, got my children off there. Then we went to the babysitters where our youngest son had, and went inside. And that's where I'm being charged with the criminal trespassing. I don't know.
Mr. Bill, I need you to stop talking now. Sorry. I don't want you to incriminate.
Okay, and how does the judge know anything about this? Because none of it's on her docket, none of it's been charged. It's almost like she's communicated with somebody who knew about it. I don't know.
Is that where the extra case is coming from that I'm thinking of? That there
Yes, Your Honor.
was criminal trespass against the babysitter that's not among these?
Yes, Your Honor.
So there is a fifth case out there.
No, there's not a fifth case out there.
I still think I saw one besides the ones that somebody else mentioned there.
I believe that's where the 96 case comes in.
No, I don't think so.
Well, these are the only 4 that they gave me files on, Your Honor.
Also, have we noticed any reason for this Tanya Green to be there? There's no reason for her to be on this call or this hearing at all. She's not called, she's not a witness, nothing. She's just there. Almost like a spy or something, you know?
These are the only ones in Greenwood County that I am aware of.
You don't have anything going through city court, do you, Mr. Beal?
No, ma'am. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to modify the bond at this time, but I will tell you if the parties are each involved in individual therapy, and when their therapists individually think that they can take on therapy together, I will consider that, making no promises. But if you look at these charges, it looks like these 2 are dangerous together, that they just, I don't know what trips the emotions, but they just keep racking up these charges. And now all of a sudden, when they're supposed to be having no contact, they're wanting to get together. They've dropped their divorces. They've each filed a divorce. They're wanting to drop them. And
Your Honor, to shed a little light on the situation. Months when she first dropped the divorce, it was so we could work things out to be a family.
okay.
She immediately looked at the time frame. She filed the divorce, then turned around, filed the PFA, and around that time frame is whenever she got caught being with somebody else when we were supposed to be working on things to be a family. Whenever I caught wind of that, that's when I filed for divorce. But just as Mary Ann and Mr. McClendon say, we have children together. It's in our best interest to do what's right for everybody.
Okay. So you're both wanting to get back together as a family, a couple and a family.
That's the end. That would be the ideal end goal. It's not our children's fault. They didn't ask for this. They deserve to have mom and dad. But
did you say you had dismissed your divorce action?
not yet. I don't want to dismiss that until the way everything's gone. As you can see from my charges, Your Honor, there's nothing worse than a scorned woman. I want to make sure, I want to take the necessary steps, not leave my
So you want to keep your divorce open in case you don't work things out the way you're hoping to?
No, I want to leave my divorce open until we're able to have contact and I can have Mr. McClendon write us up an agreement, and we want to put our home and everything in a trust immediately after the divorce is null.
Okay, well, I'm going to leave the bond as it is for now. And so we'll be back here June 28th at 1:15. No contact means no contact. Not through your moms, not through your dads, not through your friends. No contact. Not on social media. No contact. Mr. Beal?
Okay, how do they arrange the child transfer?
Well,
You've already gave us you and the county attorney have already gave us permission before to communicate about our children.
How have they been doing it, Miss Shirley?
I do not know. I haven't had, I know I talked to Miss Simon, I believe last week, and I don't know. I didn't ask her how that was being accomplished because I didn't know until I saw these files today that all these new charges existed.
Well, they're not exactly new. The most recent one was probably March, going back.
Well, but I got off his cases back the first of the year.
Okay, so you had been his attorney up until the first of the year? Okay.
Yes.
And is that why she...
Yeah, now he's got 5 new charges without having been arrested by police officers and taken to jail. But he's got 5 new charges. Come on.
Do you know if that's why she came to you to...
They had both come to me trying to arrange an amicable settlement agreement for their marriage and the custody, care, and control of their children. They were all in agreement, and then things would happen and things broke down. And so I was not able to, I had to withdraw from both of them because I had already talked to both of them.
Sure.
And Miss Simon called last week requesting information and telling me kind of what was going on, but I was unaware of all these the violations of the PFA and the aggravated assault. These are all new to me. But as far as the domestic situation, yes, I was involved in that initially, trying to get everything out. I prepared final documents 3 or 4 times, made changes she wanted, made changes he wanted, and then it fell apart. And as I've advised, since I'd already talked to both of them, I could not represent either of them.
All right. So how have you been doing the child custody visitation thing, Mr. Beal?
We've been meeting at the sheriff's office.
Okay.
And then getting communication through my mother.
Well, communicating through your mother is kind of circumventing your no contact order.
You and the county attorney have both already give us permission to contact, to have conversations about the children through a third party.
And I believe that the content there was the babysitter was doing it, and the babysitter got upset with him and decided not to do it. And so his mother said that she would. I believe that's what that
was playing. He said, she said, and
well, now hold on. The problem, Mr. Beal, the problem with you saying, well, this happened, you said this, you said that. That could have happened the first case. And then you went out and got another. And then you went out and got another. So the question is, what is the most recent ruling? Because you've probably got a few that have changed as time went on. So at this point, in this, I'm looking at May 7th, 2024, in case number 2024 CR96. And that clearly says no contact with any victims or witnesses.
Can my lawyer get a transcribe of that court date?
Yes. The simple answer is yes. But that's what the notes say just on this case, May 24th, CR96, when you're in front of the judge.
Your Honor, the aggravated assault with the vehicle, that was the gentleman she was running around with, his cousin. That ought to be pretty self-explanatory. And I did not do that, and I have proof I didn't do that.
But if you did, it would be explained because he was the cousin of the guy she was with. Is that what you mean?
No, I mean it would be explained after everything. It would be explained to why they're trying to do that.
Okay, you're coming back to me now as I read these notes. You had hired Mr. Paw on at least a couple of these, and then you got crossways with the advice he was giving you. So you fired him, then you got
me 4 times.
What?
No, I did not get crossways with him because the advice he was giving me. He told me he would contact me on 4 different occasions.
Well, let's not get into all of that. I don't want to get into all that. You had Mr. Paw. For whatever reason, you came in and Mr. Paw was allowed to withdraw. And then for whatever reason, you got Mr. McClendon appointed, or did you hire him? I don't recall.
I was appointed, Your Honor.
Okay. And then you were complaining that Jill Gillette didn't like you. You wanted a change of venue. You were concerned about a personal relationship you had with Jill Gillette, the county attorney's boyfriend, David. And I told you to stay away from him. And then you asked if you could stay in contact with someone else in his business so you could continue to do business with the other person that you needed to as part of your business. So yeah, this we've had a few involved hearings over this relationship and these people that are allegedly your victims. So at this time, I'm going to keep the bonds no contact of any kind. And I don't mean going through your mother or anybody else. The children are probably named as victims in one of this.
Don't even go there.
They're not.
Don't even try to say that, Your Honor.
Anthony, don't.
Try to get me out of bad, Dad.
Mr. Beal,
Don't.
please don't talk.
So, Ms. Shirley, you're representing the state today, is that right? For Ms. Gillette, but you've represented him in the past?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, the reason I say they may be witnesses is because they were allegedly at the babysitter's in that criminal trespass when he allegedly came in.
You said victim.
Mr. Beal, don't talk. Please. I don't want you to incriminate yourself.
Well,
right and wrong. I won't be made out a bad dad.
Well,
nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that. Not your wife. That's not the point here. If the children were present at the scene of one of these offenses, they are listed as witnesses in the case. Not that they are victims. Simply that a bond says you shall have no contact with victims or witnesses who potentially could testify against you. The age of your children generally precludes them from testifying. Okay? Just relax. It's okay, Anthony.
Although some people would say that watching your parents fight or threaten other people could be a form of mental
abuse.
Yes.
So to be in, never mind.
All right. I think that's all right. At this point, I think we've concluded everything we need to for today. No contact, Mr. Beal, with the wife and I'm going to even say the children until we sort through all of this at prelim on June 28th at 1:15.
So you're going to keep me from my children?
Well, until we sort through this at the prelim, June 28th, 1:15.
William, step up.
Judge,
William.
What are you saying, Mr. Beal?
I told William to step up and speak for his client.
I'm trying.
Everyone, hold on. I think I'm still in charge of this courtroom.
Obviously, and you obviously like it too.
Mr. Beal, I have put up with a lot with you over the course of these hearings. You always seem to take over or try to. And I've made these orders.
What do you expect?
What was that?
I said, this is my family we're talking about. What do you expect?
Well, I'm not going to get into that with you, but if you want to try to resume contact, it would be good for you at the next hearing to bring in a statement from a therapist that you're going to therapy and that it would be a good move to start going to therapy with your wife. But from what these files show, you and your wife are not good together, that somebody's going to get hurt. Now, that's just what it looks like. I'm not prejudging anything. But if you look just at the paperwork, so go to a therapist. You and your attorney can talk about it. Go to a therapist and see if the therapist can give you something to show that you're not a danger to your wife or your children. Or her dad, because one of these says you were committed ag assault against her dad and someone else. So
I try my damnedest to be a good dad. And if her father thinks it's right to commit insurance fraud, I don't want my children being taught that way.
All right. Well, you talk to the therapist, you talk to your attorney, and we'll take this up June 28th at 1:15.
William, get my speak up. I'm a dad.
Well, what do you,
Mr. Beal, as your attorney, I'm going to have to ask you to just please stop talking. You're digging yourself a hole, man. Please stop. Your Honor, I would just ask that you take notice of the complaints that are filed, and none of them list the children as witnesses. Then therefore that we not have the no contact order against the children.
But my understanding from what I recall of the affidavits to support the warrants and what I've heard in these hearings, it's my recollection and belief that the children were present for most, if not all of this.
Okay.
Miss Shirley, are you indicating?
I don't believe that's true, Your Honor. They may have been on that one, but I don't think they were on any of the others.
Okay.
They were present during the Easter one.
Mr. Bill, please.
That's the only one.
The Easter one is the one at the babysitters?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
I was told I was putting him in danger, but I wasn't trying to get a kid out of the back seat of a moving vehicle.
Like I said, talk to your attorney, talk to a therapist, and we'll see if we can put any more resolution of this June 28th at 1:15. That's 30 days.
Once again, what is the relevance of having Tanya Green present during this hearing? She's done nothing but sit there and just watch and listen. Almost like a spy.
Out. All right, we'll be in recess. Mr. Beal, you are excused. You may go, Mr. Beal. You can stay.